It was a warm summer evening at the luxurious Starlight Hotel, known for its exclusivity and high-profile guests. Ethan Reed, a 32-year-old white music producer, walked into the lobby. He wasn't a household name, but in his small circle of aspiring musicians, he carried himself like a star. With a neatly tailored suit and a self-assured smirk, Ethan loved the attention he got from the staff, who greeted him warmly as if he were a regular VIP. Little did they know, his career was barely afloat, and he was at the hotel to pitch a deal to an up-and-coming artist. As Ethan made his way to the bar, he spotted a tall black man standing near the front desk. The man wore a casual hoodie, ripped jeans, and sneakers that gleamed under the chandelier lights. He looked effortlessly cool, his dreadlocks tied back neatly. But for Ethan, appearances mattered. He eyed the man with disdain, assuming he didn't belong in such an upscale place. Ethan muttered under his breath, loud enough for those nearby to hear, "Guess they'll let anyone in these days." The man, Kendrick, caught the comment but chose to ignore it. He was used to such microaggressions, but that didn't mean they didn't sting. Kendrick had checked in quietly, not wanting to draw attention to himself. Despite being a chart-topping rapper with millions of fans, he preferred moments of anonymity. Fame had its perks, but it also came with constant scrutiny. Ethan, however, wasn't done. As Kendrick made his way to the elevator, Ethan stepped in front of him, blocking his path. "Hey, are you lost or something?" Ethan asked, feigning concern. Kendrick raised an eyebrow. "No, I'm exactly where I need to be," he replied calmly. Ethan smirked. "Look, man, this place isn't for people like you. Maybe try somewhere down the street." The lobby fell silent. A few guests glanced over, sensing the tension. Kendrick's expression didn't waver. He had dealt with worse, but this level of blatant disrespect was rare in such a public setting. "I'm staying here, just like you," Kendrick said, his voice steady. "Now, if you'll excuse me." Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. "Sure you are. Let me guess, some YouTube wannabe rapper? You probably snuck in here hoping to meet someone important. Hate to break it to you, but this industry doesn't have room for nobodies." Kendrick's patience was wearing thin, but he kept his composure. "You have no idea who you're talking to, do you?" Ethan scoffed. "Oh, I think I do. I've been in this business long enough to spot a poser. Take my advice, go home and find a real job." Kendrick smirked slightly, a hint of amusement in his eyes. "Noted," he said, stepping around Ethan and entering the elevator. Ethan watched him go, shaking his head in disbelief. "Some people," he muttered to himself before heading to the bar. That night, Ethan sat at the bar nursing a whiskey, recounting the encounter to anyone who would listen. "You wouldn't believe the audacity of some people," he told the bartender, "thinking they can just waltz in here like they belong. The guy probably doesn't even have $1 to his name." Meanwhile, Kendrick was in his suite, enjoying the view of the city skyline. His phone buzzed with messages from his team. He had a meeting with an executive producer the next day, and a new album on the way. Life was good, and he wasn't about to let a random bigot ruin his mood. But the next morning, fate had a surprise in store. Ethan was seated in the hotel conference room, nervously waiting to meet a potential client, a rising star in the industry. This deal could be the breakthrough his struggling career desperately needed. As the door opened, Ethan rose to his feet, plastering on his most charming smile. But when he saw who walked in, his heart sank. It was Kendrick. Kendrick strolled in with an air of confidence, followed by 2 members of his management team. He glanced at Ethan, recognition flickering in his eyes, and then took a seat at the head of the table. Ethan's mouth went dry. He fumbled for words, but managed a shaky "You." "You're the client." Kendrick leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. "That's right," he said coolly. For the next hour, Ethan stumbled through his presentation, his usual bravado replaced by nervous energy. He couldn't focus, knowing Kendrick held all the cards. When the meeting ended, Kendrick stood up and looked Ethan in the eye. "You know," he began, "people like you are the reason I work so hard to succeed." to prove that no matter how much hate or disrespect we face, we can still rise above it. Ethan's face burned with shame. "Look, I didn't realize who you were." He stamered. "That's the problem," Kendrick replied. "You judged me without knowing anything about me." Ethan tried to apologize, but Kendrick wasn't interested in empty words. "Let's just say this meeting didn't go as planned," Kendrick said, turning to leave. As the door closed behind him, Ethan sank into his chair, his career flashing before his eyes. He knew the music industry was small, and Kendrick's influence could make or break his reputation. The next week, Ethan's name started disappearing from projects. Calls went unanswered and opportunities dried up. Word had spread about his behavior at the hotel, and no one wanted to associate with him. Meanwhile, Kendrick continued to thrive. He released his new album, dedicating a track to overcoming prejudice and staying true to oneself. The song resonated with millions, further cementing his legacy. Ethan learned the hard way that disrespecting others, especially out of ignorance and prejudice, comes with consequences. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Unfolded Tales Explained. Hit the bell icon for more thought-provoking stories. See you next time.